Aloha, and welcome to Manoa Valley Theater. I'm Executive Director Kip Wilborn, and we are so excited to have you back in our house. Now, a lot has changed since you were here last, so I thought I'd take a few moments to show you what to expect when you arrive at the theater for a performance. Now, because we're committed to making sure that MVT is as safe and healthy a venue as possible, we do require that everyone wear a face covering over their nose and mouth whenever they enter the theater grounds. MVT recently earned the Healthy Verify certification. Now, what does that mean to you? It means that we're exceeding the guidelines from the CDC and Hawaii State Department of Health. We want you to have peace of mind when you come back to visit us, and we've been hard at work cleaning and reorganizing for you. As you approach the box office, you'll see markers on the ground spaced 6 feet apart. Please use these as a guide while waiting to check in to ensure proper social distancing. And when it's your turn to check in, step up to the marker in front of the table. Give our box office staff the name under which your reservation was made, and they will match the name to our reservation list. Next, a staff member will do a contactless temperature check and ask for a few short questions related to COVID-19. You can access our new digital playbill by scanning the QR code posted at the theater or via the link on our website. After checking in, line up in front of our main doors. For the time being, and with your health and safety in mind, we will not sell drinks and snacks, and outside food and beverages are not allowed on the theater grounds. Before each performance and between performances on 2 show days, the theater, public areas, restrooms, backstage, and dressing rooms will be cleaned and disinfected. The house will open 30 minutes prior to the show. Now, we all love to greet our friends and family who are on stage, but we ask that you not congregate at the stage door. Give your congratulations and lei after you've left the theater grounds. Once inside, an usher will be happy to direct you to your seat. Your seat will be labeled with your reservation name. Hand sanitizer will be available in multiple locations throughout the theater. With socially distanced seating and ample separation between you and the actors on stage, we're doing our part to provide for you the safest and most comfortable performance experience possible. At the end of the performance, please remain in your seats. Our house staff will dismiss you by sections. Thanks to generous donations, we were able to replace our air conditioning system this year, helping to provide clean air in the theater. Additionally, during the performance, the main doors will be kept open to increase airflow. For over 50 years, we've had the privilege of bringing high-quality live theater and concerts to Hawaii's audiences. And from all of us here at Manoa Valley Theater, we would like to thank you for your loyalty and continued support. And without further ado, it's showtime!
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to Manoa Valley Theater Live number 55. I'm Devin. I'm your host, and let's please welcome in our Executive Director, Mr. Kip Wilborn. Yay!
Hey, how's it, Dev?
Hello, sir. Good. First time going into the theater since pandemic time, probably. Going to auditions this past weekend for Spelling Bee. It was pretty cool. It was neat to just go to auditions again and be in the theater.
Yeah, it was a great audition. By the way, you were fantastic. Knocked it out of the park there.
I wish it'd been fantastic enough to get a role in the show, but this is how you know.
Hey.
This is how you know. There are no favoritisms. There are no things made on this.
True that. Hey, I'm not directing. Didn't make the choice. All right. Not my fault.
No problem. I'm looking forward. It's gonna be a really great show. I can't wait to interview them for this show coming up in a couple months.
Awkward.
So what else is going on with Manoa Valley Theater?
Well, about the auditions that we had, we had over 50 people come out.
Yeah. Awesome.
That was pretty great. And we got a fantastic cast. It could be better if you were in it, but the other things going on, Ron Artis, we had him in concert with us.
Yeah, sold out.
Yeah, it did. Well, we now have it on demand starting tonight.
Oh,
so
awesome.
You can go to our website, click on there, and buy a link for the on-demand show. And there's more details there. Yeah, it's a fantastic show. I hope you'll take advantage of it if you couldn't see it. because there were a lot of people who wanted tickets who didn't get tickets. So
Shucks. Okay.
yeah. And then after that, we have Tiny Beautiful Things opening on May 6th. We're really excited. May 6th through 23rd. It's also a great cast. It's a great script. We're so excited about that, and I hope you'll come. We'll be only in the theater for this one.
I heard
the streaming rights are not available for this one. We'd love to stream it too, but it's just not available. So, following that, Spelling Bee, which we just cast last night, June 17th through the 27th at Kaimuki High School Performance Center. It's so we're not at the MVT venue. This gives us a much larger venue, and hopefully by then the distancing rules won't be quite so strict, and we'll be able to really have a nice crowd there. So make your plans to come out for that. And Daddy Longlegs, it will be right after that, but it will be at MVT. It's really nice musical, July 1st through the 11th. In fact, auditions for that are tomorrow.
Okay.
1 to 4 tomorrow. If you want to audition, you don't have a spot, show up, bring your best 1 minute of singing, and we'll see if we can accommodate you tomorrow.
Well, what was nice was there were, for those of you who are worried about oh man, I'm going to miss my spot. When I went for auditions, there were a couple of spots that opened up. I mean, people kind of, decided against coming out or whatever. And so there will be room for you to come in. So please just go down and audition. It makes you feel like theater's kind of getting back to normal. So if you can, I mean, even if you're like, there's no way I make it into the show, just go, just for the sheer joy of getting to step on stage and completely embarrassing yourself in front of a bunch of people that you don't really know to try and get into a show.
It's exactly the way I felt when I got home last night. I felt like, hey, this feels like we're doing theater again. I know we've done some, but it just had it's getting more normal, and I hope everyone is taking advantage of the availability of the vaccine, because that is going to truly help us as far as getting back to normal. Please, if you haven't been vaccinated, get your vaccine. And continue to take care of each other. We're not out of the woods yet.
Please come and see the show, and please come and see the
show. Yeah,
come
see the show. Yeah, tickets are on sale. Cool.
Yeah, because I think you and I were talking about it a little bit and saying that people are still very nervous to come into the theater. And if you went to the theater and just took a look, you'd go, oh yeah, I can do this. I mean, the doors are open the whole time. You know what I mean? Everyone's sitting so far apart. I was like, oh no, we're good. So
yeah, I hope everybody noticed in the video at the beginning, you can really see the distancing. It's a really open space. So far, everybody's been thrilled with precautions we're taking, and I hope that we'll all be back in there sitting shoulder to shoulder soon. But to get there, get your vaccine, wear your mask, be good to your neighbor. All right. Cool. Couple of more things. The MVP Studio, that's our education program. Monday evening, the continuing makeup class virtually online. You can get that at our website. Lisa Ponce de Leon, she's an award-winning makeup artist who's been doing theater makeup in Hawaii for a long time. She's teaching, and this week is age makeup. So if you have any interest in that and how you can create that aging effect.
Is there aging makeup? Because I could use that one.
Anti-aging, maybe. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we also have coming up the Intro to Playwriting with Sean Joseph Chu. And I know that those are going to be really great. And as soon as we can, we'll get back to in-person classes. So we're looking forward to it. And speaking of playwriting, you've got quite the show today.
We do, and I can't wait to get underway. So thank you very much, Kip, for stopping by. We're going to see you at the end of the show, right?
All right, yeah. See you later.
Cool. Thanks, Kip. All right, we're going to have both of them come on at the same time. So I'm going to read two introductions to you, all right? Our first person is a playwright, television, and screenwriter from IAEA, who is now based in New York and London. That's how big time she is. She's a producer writer for HBO's Succession and writes for Amazon's Modern Love and other shows. And you may have seen some of her plays produced here on Oahu at Kumakahua, Honolulu Theater for Youth, and KOA. Viewers, please welcome the talented Susan Soon-Hee Stanton. Yay!
Aloha. Hi.
Aloha. And we're also introducing our other guest, who is an actor, playwright, director, and designer from here in Honolulu. And you may recognize him from his time as an artistic associate at Honolulu Theater for Youth, where, let's be honest, he wrote pretty much everything they did for a while there, including The Ballad of Mulan and Anime Momotaro, as well as performing in them, because, you know, he didn't have enough things to do. He holds a BA in theater from UH Manoa and is nearing completion on his MFA in directing from Northwestern University. Viewers, please welcome the outspoken Mr. Alvin Chang.
How's it?
What's up, buddy? Okay, so Alvin is here in Hawaii right now, which is why the sun is on him. Susan is actually in New York, which means it's 11 o'clock for her, and we are very thankful that she's here with us. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so I'm going to start in real quick. Susan, how did you get your start in just being attracted to doing theater, making words?
Yeah, I have to credit Dan Kellen, who ran Theater Fest in Hawaii, where I think many of us got our start. It was really like an amazing place to kind of like cut our teeth. And he taught us playwriting. We wrote plays for Theater Fest. Like the play that I wrote at HUI was what I sent off for college. So I went to New York, like NYU, from that sample play. And I think I definitely, when I was younger, did acting and try different things, but I think pretty quickly, personally, and I think a group consensus was that I was much more comfortable and better at writing than trying to act. So yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. At least you understood what you were good at.
Yeah.
Alvin, what about you? Is that I saw you nodding about Dan Kellen, so is that kind of where you got your start too?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to credit, Mid-Pacific Institute with my start initially, because their arts program is so well run. Our Kevin Doyle, and then yes, Dan Kellen as well, Harry Wong. Those are the big three getting me to start doing and making art.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay if he's in the shot. It's totally fine. Don't worry. Anyway, unless they're not wearing any clothes, in which case then I understand moving the camera. It's fine. No, so I guess my question is, as writers of shows, I mean, is there a particular reason, Susan, why you decided to sort of explore this on the mainland as opposed to just doing it from here? Alvin, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Well. I mean, for me, writing came a lot later than for Susan. I only started, I was a songwriter for a long time before I was a playwright. And it wasn't until I was asked to write something. Paul Cravath, the late Dr. Paul Cravath, asked me to write a show for Leeward Community College. And I had no idea what to do. And I was like, well, Paul, I have this really long song written about Prince Charming's younger brother, Prince Bland. I'm going to turn that into a play. And he was like, sure, great. And it became this thing. But then Eric Johnson at Honolulu Theater for Youth saw that and was like, hey, why don't you write something for us? And neither of us had ever even thought to do that. And it really came into this, like, let's try it. Let's see where it goes. But for me, the process of going into playwriting really came about through getting a grant from Theater Communications Group. An acting grant to study Jingju, Beijing Opera, and Kyogen and No and all this stuff in Japan and China. And I was supposed to bring that back to Hawaii and teach it to the HTY Acting Company. At the same time, I'm also writing the content, right? Because nobody else knows anything about this at the company at the time. And so it came out of that necessity. And then it also turned into this way of finding my mother culture for myself. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Susan, how about you?
In terms of like why I came to New York?
New York, London. How does it take you to these these places. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean-
I think most of us, when we think of writers, we think of some person sitting in a room someplace, which could be anywhere, USA or anywhere in the world, and then they write all this magnificent stuff and they just sort of send it out. So
I think I had kind of like a full circle journey because I think for me, especially like doing theater back in the 90s, I think I was like, oh, we're just like in Hawaii, it's so small. And there was like the idea of New York with the idea of doing work on the mainland. And I think I was really intimidated by it. And I was like, I have to write plays like other people, instead of like, okay, I'm going to write Hawaii stories or like my own truth. And so I think I spent a lot of time not writing away, but just focusing on, like a certain like Western canon. And I think that it's taken time and just to be like, okay, like I mean, I do really want to champion local playwriting and local stories because I think this is one of the most unique, interesting, hybrid, like just amazing, rich cultures, like just Hawaii, Polynesia. There's so much to draw from, and I think that for me, it was so much about like thinking like I have to just go away and get the whatever, like the official thing where someone's like, okay, you have this award or you've done this program, and that means you're a writer or an actor, or, whatever the thing that you think, the gold star. And the reality is it's just about figuring out how to learn your craft and cut your teeth and do the best work. And I think it took me a really long time to sort of figure that out. And I really do love traveling. I love embracing different cultures and doing stuff in New York or London. But for me, like any play or any story that I tell that's set in Hawaii is so much more important and meaningful to me, that I try to always make space to keep doing that as much as I can. So I don't know. I think it's so much about like coming really far away, just end up being kind of like back at home as much as I possibly can.
That's great. We love guys from home. Yes, Alex. Sorry.
Piggyback on what Susan said. Same thing for me. Like you chase a gold star. I lived in New York when she was in New York for a little bit. And why am I in Chicago? I'm chasing a gold star, a little boom. Oh, you have an MFA, so that I can come home and create the art I want to create here. But for Susan, just as myself, it's when you start writing and telling your own truth that the awards start coming.
Right.
Like I, for the same thing, when I was younger, I was like, I need to start doing art a certain way that is going to be made so people on the continent can say, oh, that fits what we're doing. And it's not until I started doing it my way that I got noticed.
Hence anime Momotaro and stuff like that would come about. Susan, I wanted to ask you because you write for television, but you also are writing plays and such. I mean, is there a difference? Do you have to do a mind switch with that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean it's dramatic writing. So you're telling a story through characters, through like human bodies, right? Like it's not a novel. It's like you're seeing people acting out these stories. It's very character driven. But from a craft point of view, theater is it's ineffable. Like you create something and it lives on stage with the audience, and then it goes away. And I think with TV, it's very much more of like a hive mind, or film where it's like the whole thing feels like tech, whereas like theater, it's like rehearsal and preview. It's like every moment of TV and film feels kind of like tech. In good ways and bad, but you get the nuances where the camera tells you where to look. But when you're doing theater and you're doing Three Sisters, you can choose, like you can watch the whole play and only watch one of the sisters. And it's a different kind of experience. And I think writing it's a little bit different too. And as a playwright, you have much more autonomy because, in playwriting, like playwright is king in a way. Like you can't change a line a playwright writes in a play without their permission. So there's something about like the playwright's singular voice. Where in TV, in film, it's kind of like, like sometimes a lot of people come across different scripts, and you watch a major movie and you see 5 different writers on it. It's just a really different kind of process. It's much less intimate. I really embrace like all the different forms, but I think my heart, where I started, it's like always theater. And same thing of like making space for telling stories in Hawaii. Making space for theater for me is like, I think it's just kind of like where that like artistic home is just trying to make plays. So
okay, cool. All right, so I have to get to this because we are the 3 Asians in the room. So you knew we were going to get to this, Alvin. So let's get ourselves ready, because this whole thing that we've been dealing with regards to the Asian stories, with regards to um, the harm that's been caused to Asians as you go about your business, as you go through the world. And Alvin, you've been very outspoken. Susan, I'm sure you have as well. But I just kind of wanted to know how it's been affecting you in terms of your art and what you're deciding to maybe create from here on out. Alvin, is it okay if I start with you?
Sure. How do I put this? When you go through an experience like this that is happening to all of our people across the continent, it changes you, yeah? And not everyone can understand that, and that's totally fine. But it also, for me, changed me in a perspective of why am I doing what I do? Why am I making, as an artist, why do I do what I do? And then as a person, why do I exist? Why do I have the ability to exist? And so, no, I'm not a janitor. I'm not a shoemaker. I'm not all that. I'm an artist. So all I can do, aside from going to any rallies, is to make art about it. And luckily, at HTY, they reached out to me and said, hey, we need to do something about this. We need to create a response, and I have been. And, I'm also doing stuff with my Northwestern community via Zoom in our own ways to spread awareness about it. But, it changes your mentality. And because I don't belong to an institution right now, locally in Hawaii, I feel no reason not to speak up when I see inequity and inequality going on. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
That's Susan. Great. Awesome. Susan.
I don't know if I can say it better than Alvin. I feel really inspired by the movement. I mean, I think a lot about Hawaii, where it's just, there's no ethnic majority and there's such a strong Asian. I feel like Hawaii is like Asia, America. And I think for me, it's also strange, like feeling like being a Asian American woman and being afraid to walk home at night. And, and all these different stories in the past year, especially with like Black Lives Matter. And it's been a real reckoning. And I think there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of heartbreak, like looking at different cities across the country and communities. And I think, and also, COVID, it's hard to think with so much hurt and wrong, like how do you attack what needs, like the reckoning? Like, do you start with anger? Do you start with hope? Do you, like, what's the way in? And I think there's a lot of different ways to kind of try to approach it. And I think, I think there's so much about it, like in terms of finding your truth into it and just trying to sort of like make people see. I think the thing about theater, which is so important, is that you're watching characters. So you're creating empathy. You're putting people in different shoes. You're making people care. And so for a lot of storytelling, it was kind of like, we're going to care about, like really, really beautiful, like white people. And that is like, we're going to feel everything through that lens. And now it's kind of like the world has gotten more diverse and we can mix it up in different kinds of stories. And so how can we make people feel things where you realize like different cultures and Asian American. And so I guess that's I don't know, I definitely didn't speak about it as well as Alvin, but I do feel like there's a certain obligation and responsibility and honor in terms of trying to just shed light, turn the attention to things where like attention must be paid, right? And I feel like you can go about it in a number of different ways and still figure out how to also be a theater artist and to, we all have thin skins and a lot of emotion, and then how to channel that in a way that feels productive. And I mean, also hopeful. I think hope is important. It's not all about negativity, because you want to just add something light to it, despite all of things that feel very dark. And that's not always easy to do. It can take a beat,
Well, yeah, I agree. I think it's also too, it makes the medicine go down a little easier too, right? If you give it a little bit of sweetness. So you try to do some of that. But I was struck by it. I was fascinated that two of you were coming on, specifically because you both write. Because Grey's Anatomy, Station 19, they are predominantly African American casts, actually very mixed race casts. But what I noticed is that the Asian representation is not as strong. But it was fascinating because they talked about Black Lives Matter. They talked about the struggle of that community through this. And so now I'm thinking, okay, so once you guys hit the ground running in the next 6 months or so, does that mean that the Asian community gets some play in there too? Or if they need that, is that something that you as artists need to sort of, like you were saying, to push the envelope with that and say, hey, look, you also got to pay attention to this as well, because this is happening. Is that right?
I think absolutely. Yeah. Because, we cannot view this as black or white or whatever. It is all colors dealing with this issue, and
it's interesting too, because there's so many Asian cultures. It's people for some reason think that Asians are all like, we all like tempura. But there's Japanese, there's Chinese, there's Korean, there's Thai, there's so many different Asian cultures that it's interesting to see people try to wrap their hands around it and wrap their arms around it and make it into something that everybody can understand.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we all do still like tempura. Like, let's not, like it is delicious, but yes, like very, very wildly different cultures, right?
Right. Exactly. No kidding. So a question: what are the two of you up to in the coming months? What have you got on deck? I know, Alvin, you said you were working on something with HTY. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just released a TV episode that just came out this past Tuesday. It's called Stronger Together. It's going to be airing all over the place, but you can also find it on the HTY website, which is posted right there at the bottom. It's free content. It's our response to anti-Asian hate as a company. It talks about allyship and standing together, and our company our acting ensemble is one of the most diverse on the planet. And we have been trying to learn how to stand with each other and to get through this as a theater company. I don't even get paid anymore by them, but I'm still going to help because I believe in the message. So that's what I've been mainly working on. And then in Chicago, I'm working with the only other Asian American in my cohort of master's students to create a response that's more adult driven.
That's a nice way to put it. Very good. And Susan, what about you?
So I'm on set. We're shooting season 3 of Succession, which has been really fun. I am prepping for a show at Kumukahua. I think we're in the middle of auditions. It's called Untitled TMT Project, and so it's about like Mauna Kea and TMT, and it involves a couple years of just going to the Mauna and doing interviews, going to the telescopes, like just kind of talking to a lot of different people and gathering, just different stories. I feel like it's really not about trying to convince you, but it's really about trying to gather together different people's passion and truths and letting them live in this space. So I'm really excited about that. And, it's Kumukahua's 50th season. So they commissioned a play from different playwrights for every decade the theater has been around. Yeah. And so this is sort of like the present day Hawaii and the issues. So for me, I'm very intimidated about it, but I'm excited about kind of like building the show with an ensemble and kind of like digging in and figuring it out. And then I'm doing a bunch of like other TV stuff, some things that are coming out. Conversations with Friends, which is a follow-up from Normal People on Hulu and BBC, and The Modern Love season 2, and a show called Dead Ringers with Amazon Annapurna. So just a bunch of like, I don't know, like last year.
How do you keep all that straight? I don't understand. How does that work?
I sat around at home last year, and I just did a lot of writing, and now it's all coming out like awkwardly, sort of close to the same time. But it was a real privilege, and I think in such a dark time to just hunker down in my little like hobbit hole and just like do a lot of writing. So yeah.
So we know what both of you were doing during this COVID time. Then
yeah,
it was
miserable,
a lot of
but
writing, a lot of creating.
Yeah,
that's good. Okay, so we definitely know you were productive during the COVID time. Before we go, because actually our time is almost up. I can't believe it. I'm actually bummed. I want to have you guys back on because there's so many things I want to ask you. But I know there are a lot of people who think to themselves, "How do I write a show? What do I do? Can I just get a couple quick tidbits of advice for someone who's sitting there saying, I have this story and I don't know how to get it out." So Susan, did you have some advice for that person if they come up to you and ask you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no, well, I would say it's all about getting on the page, figuring out how to write it. And I think simultaneously, it's also about learning your craft. I think it's about expressing yourself, but also cannibalizing the greats, reading and writing all the things you admire. There's this Ira Glass thing he talked about where it's like your taste at a certain point is greater than your ability, but eventually if you keep working, it's like your taste and your ability will kind of equal up. So for me, it's just about not giving up, not getting discouraged, because you have a thing in your head and then you write it and you're like, oh, it's not what I wanted. And then you just put it in a drawer and it's like, that's okay. That's really human, but just trying to figure out a way of this to keep trying and not to give up and to know like writing's really hard and there's no hiding behind bad writing. I've tried. And so you just have to just keep like, just, you know, like, I mean, all I can say is that the more you do it, the better you'll get, and to be easy on yourself and to know that you have a unique story in you and just to sort of like go for it, right? Go for broke. Just keep writing.
Awesome. Thank you. Alvin, how about you?
Devin, I'll transition this into how to get more inclusivity in theater because, you know, you start by writing what you know, and what you know is yourself and what's around you, right? Mm-hmm. Like growing up in Hawaii, you write about what you know. You write about, and then you explore what you don't know. You know, like, I'm sorry, but we live in a place called Hawaii, and Kumukua Theater is the only theater that does stuff about Hawaiians and local people. It should be the other way around. It should be all the theaters doing stuff about that. Local playwrights, local actors. Lee Cataluna is doing a show for Oregon Shakespeare Festival right now. How come she's not on more stages locally? Susan is doing stuff all over the place, as we just saw. Why aren't more theaters looking at the art that she makes and the plays that she writes? Write what you know, write about the people around you and the people you love, and that is what is going to make your career.
There you go. That's an excellent way to wrap things up. Man, you guys just taught a master class in about half an hour. That was awesome. Susan, Alvin, thank you so much for being here. We hope we're going to have you back. I want to get Kip on here real quick to wrap up the show. Kip.
Great show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Man, that was so informative. Susan, you and I have talked a little bit in the past. Alvin, it's so great to meet you, and I look forward to maybe some collaborations and things in the future. Who knows? So
going anywhere.
That goes to both of you guys. But all right. Really, thank you so much. And thank you for staying up, Susan.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And sorry. Tell your visitor we're really sorry. We did not mean to interrupt his peeking around the corner. I felt so bad. I was like, oh no. You had no idea. That was excellent. That was excellent camera movement, by the way. That was almost professional level. I was very impressed.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this very special Manoa Valley Theater Live. We will see you next week, Friday. Till then, have a great weekend. Aloha no ahui ho. Bye.
Aloha.